Hello guys. In this video I would like to talk to you about Immanuel Kant, okay, who was without a doubt one of top three philosophers ever. The way I rank philosophy is, number one was Plato and number two was Kant, okay. Definitely, you cannot get away from him. Like if you want to do serious philosophy and not just, philosophy, if you just care about this world. If you read Stephen Hawking and Einstein, if you care about um, big questions, you have to study Immanuel Kant. Okay, he's not gonna give you those sort of BS answers like the New Age, movement does. Like he really makes you think, but it's extremely well worth your time. And he's just really, really important and really, really profound. That's what I can say about him. Immanuel Kant is primarily known for his book called The Critique of Pure Reason. Okay, that's his magnum opus, his masterpiece, and he spent 10 years writing it. So it's a lot of thought went into this book. But before we talk about the critique of pure reason, let me, tell you about his life in a couple of words. Immanuel Kant lived one of the least interesting lives, in the history of philosophy. Some, um, philosophers had super interesting lives, such as Bertrand Russell, Wittgenstein, Descartes. They had really interesting lives. But Immanuel Kant's life was perhaps the least interesting. He spent his whole life in just one city called Königsberg, and today it's a part of Russia. It's called Kaliningrad. This guy essentially lived to be 80 years. Pretty long lifespan by, for that time. And he spent his whole life in just one city. Okay, he never married. He, just never had any kind of crazy adventures. Just a university professor who spent his whole life in Königsberg, and he was a short little guy, like 5 feet ish, really small guy, but boy was he intelligent. That's and there's this kind of a joke about Kant that his life was so routine and so predictable that his neighbors, they would set their clocks, when he would leave the door. At like 5 a.m., he would, just go for a walk, and his neighbors, they'd be like, "Oh, there he goes." Must be 5 o'clock. They would set their clocks by when he was going out for his walks. Uh, so, critique of pure reason. Okay, that's really what I want to talk to you guys about in this video. It's a big fat book, okay, close to 800 pages, and it's really, really difficult, really hard. However, if you can plow through, if you can survive it, you are now in the land of advanced philosophy. Literally, it's kind of like calculus and mathematics. I mean, if you can understand calculus, advanced mathematics is open to you, and if you can understand the critique of pure reason, advanced philosophy is within your grasp, pretty much. So, um, Kant, as a student, he studied sciences, Newtonian laws in particular, and he was kind of he noticed early on that there is a lot of metaphysics in physics. Okay, as I mean, physics is supposed to be about empirical facts, right? Like just things you can observe. It's not supposed to have any metaphysics, but it's packed with metaphysics. um, that's the starting point for Kant. That's the introduction to the critique of pure reason. He says that there is so much metaphysics in physics, and how can we explain it? Okay, so for instance, to give you an example to clarify this a little bit, you know the law of inertia. Like, let's say, everybody kind of will either keep moving at a constant velocity, or will eventually stop. I don't remember the exact Newtonian formulation, but I mean, essentially, these sort of Newtonian laws, I mean, they apply to everything in the universe. I mean, they are a priori. So a priori is another super key concept for Kant's philosophy. He's the guy who gave us this concept of a priori. So it's metaphysics inside of physics. Newtonian laws are a priori laws. I mean, they're not really things derived from experience. You cannot, no matter how many things you observe, something falling down, let's say, I mean, you cannot say that every object, on this planet for all time will fall down. I mean, empiricism, induction, it gives you high probability. Okay, that's something it can do. It can give you really, really, high probability. Say 99.999. But you see, physics, and in Kant's case, and he lived before quantum mechanics and relativity. Newtonian physics, makes certain statements, not probable but certain, with 100% probability. It's not even a question of probability, it's a priori certainty. So it's kind of interesting, but at the basis of physics, there is this a priori knowledge. And by the way, I will make a separate video to clarify what a priori is. So at the basis of physics, there is metaphysics. It kind of seems to be the case at first. And why is that the case? Well, because we have a priori concepts, a priori doctrines at the basis of physics. And that's essentially the starting point of the critique of pure reason. So just let me recap this for you. Newtonian laws, such as the one that says for every force being acted upon an object, there is an equally there is a force equal in magnitude pushing in the opposite direction. So I know this was super complicated, but it's pretty common sense. You push an object and it kind of pushes you back. There is resistance. So you push something with how many pounds of force, and it pushes back at you with the same amount of pounds of force. But this law it's not something that can be derived from experience. It's a certain a priori concept, okay, certain a priori statement, which is certain, and experience can never give us this type of certainty, and physics is based on that. So that's pretty much how the critique of pure reason starts. And perhaps to get you guys thinking, let me ask you: do you agree with Kant's sort of doctrine that physics is based on metaphysical assumptions?